Hi precious people, let's talk about concept of homeostasis. We are in chapter 9. So first, what is homeostasis? Basically, homeostasis is talking about how to maintain a constant internal environment. Jadi apa maksud internal ni? Internal ni what's happening inside our body. For example, body temperature. For example, glucose level in our body. Why we have to maintain? Because to make sure the amount of glucose or our body temperature is normal and all the reaction in the body is okay. Can happen in a good terms. So why we have to maintain? Because we know the external environment might change. For example, the weather. The weather will change. Ada summer, ada winter. So somehow this will change our body temperature depending on the environment. Another example of external, when you eat or you fast. So when you are fasting, the glucose level will be low. When you are eating, the glucose level will be high. So our body has a certain value that need to be regulated. We have to make sure the value is constant, normal. Why this is important? To make sure we adapt wherever we go, whatever we eat, our body will try to adapt and then allow the chemical reaction to occur and also allow different organism to live in different habitat. Okay, what are the component of homeostasis? First, we have a receptor. Receptor, it could be any tissue, any cells, it could be your skin to detect the stimulus. Okay, this is to monitor and detect the stimulus. Stimulus tu apa? Stimulus tu is what is the changes. So receptor akan detect stimulus ataupun input. So when we have the stimulus, it will send the input or stimulus to the control center. Control center, it could be any tissue, any cells, brain, and then it's going to make a decision or it's going to do a regulation. What to do? What the body has to do? Do we have to secrete a hormone or do we have to secrete enzyme? What the body should do? So then there will be a decision making in control center. It will send the output, the decision to the effector. Effector could be any tissue, any cell that do the action to regulate the changes. So let's see. For example, the glucose level, if you see it's constant, this is normal. So if the value is increase, for example, increase, so receptor will detect, send the stimulus to control center. Control center will do the action, will decide whether we have to secrete the hormone, and then the hormone will do the action by sending to the effector what effector have to do, and then the value will decrease back to normal because the receptor detect the increase in value. So the solution is to decrease the value until we get a normal value. Jadi Itu yang berlaku. So now let's talk about negative feedback. Apa tu negative feedback mechanism? Negative feedback mechanism ni adalah salah satu mekanisme di bawah homeostasis. Menggunakan komponen-komponen reseptor, control center dan juga effector. Negative feedback means if the value is increase, your body will decrease the value until normal. Or if the value is decrease, your body going to increase the value until normal. So both of these feedback, make sure the value, any value inside your internal environment will increase or decrease until normal value. Ini negative feedback. Kalau positif, increase lagi, or decrease lagi. Kita akan tengok example. Blood glucose regulation. In our body, we have a pancreas. Ni pancreas is an organ. Inside the pancreas, there is a group of cell. Group of cell ni dia lain dari yang lain. Dia ada dekat tengah pancreas. So it's a group of cell yang kita panggil islet of Langerhans. So ini pancreas. Dalam pancreas, kalau kita zoom, ada a few cell in the middle that we call islet of Langerhans. There are many types of cell inside the islet of Langerhans. For example, we have beta cells and alpha cell in the islet of Langerhans. What do these cells do? So, alpha cell will secrete hormone glucagon. Glucagon is a hormone. Beta cell will produce hormone insulin. So different types of cell will produce different hormone and has different reaction. Let's see the first situation. When you are eating, your body will have a high glucose level, or known as condition hyperglycemia. So if your doctor detect you with high glucose level, your condition is hyperglycemia. So we know that there are a lot of glucose in your blood, which is not good. What your body will do, badan awak akan decrease the amount of glucose inside the blood. How your body know? Of course, we need the receptor. Receptor, which is the beta cell, islet of Langerhans, can detect the increase of the blood glucose. Once the beta cell tu bila darah lalu dekat islet of Langerhans, when the blood flow, it going to detect the increase of glucose level. So once it's do the detection, it will secrete the hormone insulin. Insulin will be produced. Insulin will transported to liver, to muscle, to adipose. Adipose tissue is a fat tissue, tissue that store fat. They simpan all the fat inside your body. So after the insulin is distributed to this tissue, what the tissue do? They're going to increase the uptake of glucose. The glucose from the blood will move to the liver, to the muscle, to the adipose tissue. They're going to use the glucose. So the glucose in the blood will reduce. And then what happen next is the excess glucose will be converted to glycogen. The process called glycogenesis. Glucose is a simple molecule. Glycogen is a complex molecule. Molekul yang lebih besar. Jadi kalau kita nak simpan glukos, kita tak boleh simpan dalam bentuk glukos. Glukos mesti diubah to glycogen form. So glucose will be convert to glycogen and glycogen will be stored in muscle and liver. Jadi dekat muscle kita, dekat liver kita ada glycogen iaitu simpanan glukos. If we do not use the glucose, kita kena simpan. Proses tu glycogenesis. Next, kalau masih ada glukos, masih lagi ada glukos setelah di increase the uptake, convert to glycogen, kalau glukos tu still available dalam blood, the glucose will be convert to fat. So, ada 3 cara untuk kurangkan glukos in the blood. Satu, increase the uptake in the liver, in the muscle. Yang kedua, convert glukos kepada glycogen, simpan di muscle, di hati. And then the third one is convert glucose to fat. Jadi the 3 ways is how the glucose will be reduced. Kita kurangkan glukos dalam darah. Kita tak nak glukos banyak dalam darah. Glukos tu perlu pergi ke tempat lain. And then blood glucose will decrease and back to normal. Bukan decrease sampai 0, tak mungkin. Sebab badan masih perlukan glukos. Dia akan turun sampai normal. So, kalau bacaan normal glucose to 5, dia akan turun sampai 5. Next situation, when you have low blood glucose. For example, you are fasting, awak puasa. So, tak makan, glukos rendah. Situation atau condition of the patient is hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia. Now, the type of cell that going to detect, the receptor that going to detect the low blood glucose is another cell that we call alpha cell in the islet of Langerhans. It going to detect the low glucose and secrete another hormone that we call glucagon. So this is the hormone, this is the receptor that detect. Glucagon will move to liver because in the liver we know there are a lot of glycogen. Tadi kan kita simpan glukos dalam bentuk glycogen di liver, di muscle. Jadi glucagon ni akan pecahkan glycogen tu. Okay, it's going to break down the glycogen to make more glucose. So ini the first way. Tadi glycogen banyak di liver, di muscle, dia akan go to the liver and muscle and break the glycogen. So bila glycogen pecah akan produce more glucose. This is the name of the process, glycogenolysis. Glycogen lysis pecah. Glycogen lysis pecah. So glukos akan meningkat. Next, selain daripada dia pecahkan glycogen, lagi satu adalah dia akan convert another source. For example, protein, amino acid ataupun glycerol ataupun fat convert ke glukos. Tukarkan amino acid, fat untuk membentuk glukos supaya glukos bertambah. Jadi, quantity glucose over time will increase. And then, glucose tu akan masuk dalam darah. So, increase the blood glucose back to normal. Bukanlah increase sampai terlalu tinggi. Dia cuma naik sampai level yang normal. So, this is the feedback mechanism yang kita panggil negatif. Sebab tadi kalau glucose tinggi, dia akan rendahkan. Or glukos rendah akan tinggikan until a normal value is achieved. Jadi ada beberapa proses yang kita perlu hafal. Salah satu prosesnya tadi glycogenolysis, proses pecahkan glukos, and then neogenesis, proses menghasilkan glukos daripada sumber bukan karbohidrat, iaitu daripada amino acid, daripada fat, daripada glycerol. Jadi kena bezakan antara nama-nama proses, jangan tertukar. Ini lagi satu, glycogenesis. Genesis. So ini gambar contoh komponen yang terlibat dalam negative feedback yang kawal blood glucose. Jadi kita boleh tahu kat sini reseptor dia adalah, ini boleh jadi reseptor. So reseptor detect, glucose meningkat, secrete insulin, insulin pergi ke liver, pergi ke hati untuk gunakan glukos, convert glukos menjadi glycogen, convert glukos menjadi fat. Semua benda ni, ini kita punya effector. Effector tu adalah sel atau tisu yang selesaikan masalah tu. Dia akan gunakan glukos, convert glukos, yang do the action, yang selesaikan masalah sampailah glukos tu turun. So bila glukos turun jadi normal. Next, kalau glukos rendah, alpha cell pula yang detect. So alpha cell pula akan jadi reseptor dan secrete hormon glucagon. Hormon glucagon akan pergi kepada efektor, iaitu liver atau muscle, untuk naikkan glukos tu, pecahkan glycogen, pecahkan fat untuk menghasilkan glukos sampai blood glukos naik sehingga normal. That's it for regulation of glucose.